Welcome back. This is Dan Havey with CF Ninja Hacks, and today Amelia reached out to me and had a bunch of questions on some minor technical things on a couple of sites that I do believe she was trying to funnel hack for one reason or the other. Both of these sites were built inside of ClickFunnels, and the first one she had a question on is this right here, and I'll show you the page here in a minute. It's on the Write Like Dan Kennedy Challenge. And she wanted to know how were they doing this where they had the background highlighted and underlined in red. So let's just take a look at what they have on the page. And so everywhere that they are on the page that they have something underlined, they have the underline in red and the background behind it in red. So again, they have that on every single one of the underlined elements on the page. Now that's okay if every single one of the underlined elements on the page you also want to have a red background and you also want that to be a red underline. In our case here, I'm going to build it for a little bit more flexibility in case you want to be able to do different things on your page. So let's just come in here and take a look at this. So I just put in a text element right here. I highlighted this little bit right there. And then what we're going to do is quickly show you that if you go into the page, come into the settings, there's really no way to say that we just want to make that background color something different. We want to highlight this somehow. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we are actually going to do a strike through on it. Not an underline like they were doing. We're going to do a strike through, and then we're going to say just for this element, not for every single element on the page. So we're going to go there, we're going to click on the gear, we're going to come down to the bottom here and click on the little code button, and it will pop up our CSS code down here at the bottom. Let's open this up a little bit further. And what we want to do first off is we want to give this a new ID. So what we can do is we can click here on generate an ID and it will generate an ID for us. Now we may not want that, we may not want that. That'll be fine. Let's say we do want that. We're going to grab a hold of it by clicking right there, and we're going to come over and we're going to paste this in, and it brings in the hashtag in front of it that signifies that this is an ID. Now what we could also do is we can take this back out of here, delete that out, and we could just say, let's just call this headline just for the sake of calling it anything at all. We're going to call that headline. We're going to click on update. And then we're going to do the same thing, and we will take this out and we will paste that in. Now we have hashtag headline. Now, because we're in the CSS here now, we're going to put in what do we want this headline to look like. But if you recall, we had already put the strike through it right here. So actually, let me save this and show you what that looks like now that we put the strike through it. Going to come in here, we're going to right click, we are going to say inspect this element, and it should bring us right here. And see here now it says strike. Now on the other one, they had the U here in front of it for underline. So what they're saying here is for every single underline element on the page, we want to do this this thing here. We want to change it in this certain way. Well, for us over here, we have strike right there, and we also have our headline up here. If we come back right up here, we have an ID of headline now that we just put in there. So we have headline and we have strike. So in CSS code, when they are not inside of the same element, but they are a child element or a descendant down here, we need to put a space in between these two to signify it. So all we're going to do is we're going to put headline like we already have, space, strike. So we're going to come back into our code, and up here at the top we can go here to show code as well, and we're going to type in space and then strike, space. We're going to do a left curly bracket or curly brace, whichever you would like to call them, and then a right one down a couple of lines so we can put some stuff in between. So what do we want to do in between here? Well, the very first thing we want to do is we want to turn off that the strike through right there. So the first thing we're going to say is we are going to say text decoration of none, put a semicolon there, and as you see, it is now gone. Now the next thing we can say is, okay, what color do we want that background color? So we can say background color. Now again, it's just that area that we had the strike through on, And we're just going to say yellow because, normally you do like a yellow highlighting on it or something. So we got yellow in the background there. And then what we want to do is, actually we have here text decoration of none. We want to do text decoration of underline. And we will put in an important tag. And let's see if we can get that to work. And now initially why it didn't work is because I forgot to put a semicolon here after the word yellow. But also what we could do is now we can take this right back out of here because we don't need to say take out the strike and put in the underline simultaneously. So if we wanted to put in, let me see if I saved it. No, I didn't. So if we don't want to put an underline on here, so let's just say we don't want to put in an underline. We'll come back here to text decoration, and then we will come down here to the bottom and just turn this back to none. And so then it will take out that strike through. If we throw a slash in front of here to create a syntax error, it will be back, and now we will take it back out. So we got our background now set to yellow, and we have our text decoration of none. Again, if you want an underline instead of where it says none here, put in the word underline. Now what might else we want to do with this? So let's say we want to make this almost kind of look like a button. So let's do that, and we will say, okay, let's do some padding on here. So let's do padding, and at the top, the padding is good enough at the top, so we'll just say 0 for the padding at the top and the bottom. And so this is kind of a shortcut for the padding. So 0 and 0 at the bottom, and then left and right, let's just say we want 15 pixels left and right. Let me put an X in there and do another semicolon, and you see now it has extended out a little bit on either side. Now you might say to yourself, okay, this is kind of buttoned up against there. Well, you can go into the actual settings for this element. Let's just go in here and do this. We can come down here and we can change the line height. So we can bring that line height up a little bit if that's a bit of a problem. So we'll bring that in there. That's good enough right there for now. And we'll just save this just for fun. And we'll go back into our code. So now let's say we also want to do border radius on here. So we do border radius, colon, and let's just say we want to do 10 pixels on our border radius. And it gives us a slight border radius, but you can hardly see it. So let's just say, let's just put in a border then too. And we're going to put in a border, colon, 1 pixel, solid, black. And let me see, do I need an important in here? No. All right, let me pause for a second, see what's going on. And once again, because I'm talking while I'm typing, I forgot the semicolon after 10 pixels right there. And so let's see, we probably don't need this important at the end right there. That's just to, as you can imagine, give it more importance. So right there, we have now essentially what looks like a button right inside of here. And then you say to yourself, okay, well, so I created this button right inside my text, and I'm just doing this all on the fly right now, to be honest with you. Let's just say now we want to do this as a hyperlink, so it's a button. Well, so we just come in here, we highlight that, we click on our button right there, and we say we want to go to https://google.com. And now essentially we are turning that into a button with a hyperlink. So let us turn this on and let's just see what we got. So let's say somebody comes up here. Yep. Come in, hover, underlines, click on it, and it should take us to Google. So right there, we managed to take what was some plain text and turn it into a button inside of a paragraph. So let me pause for a second and see what was the next question. Okay, now Amelia's next question here is actually one that I really sort of can't answer, and the reason why is because this was done totally with custom code. So let me come back into the page, and we scroll up here a little bit. They have this block right here. Let me just inspect this and show you that it is what is known as a custom HTML JavaScript element, which is right up here. And so inside of here, they have a script running. You see the script right here. And then they also have, well, this is actually probably all generated by the script that's running right there. And what is most likely happening here, because I have not really seen this page functioning, is they want to run this as an evergreen page, but they want to be able to swap out these dates right here. So probably one of two things is happening. Either they are using some JavaScript code that is saying, okay, when somebody lands on this page, calculate what is the next Monday, and then put the date in there along with the time of 10 a.m. and, of course, get the right time zone as well. That's one method you could do it. Another method is you could have a bunch of dates inside of some sort of a database or even a spreadsheet of some sort. And again, the code says go out to that database, grab out the next date, because we know what today is today, grab out the next date, or what they might do is after every time they grab out a date, they delete it. So just go in, grab out the top date, and then bring it over here and plunk it in there. You would want to do that way if you weren't doing it just every Monday. If it was more sporadic and you had these dates, more sporadic, so you had to like put it into a database, you would probably want to do it that way. Probably the simpler way is just to say, okay, what is today's date? What's the next Monday? Put in the date right there. But that is custom code and is being run in an external script. So let's take a look at the next one. How do we do this little flashing image there? And that's exactly what it is it's an image. So we come in here, we right-click on that, we inspect it, and we're going to see right here, IMG, right there says there's an image. Up here it says image wrapper right there. And so we know that this is an image. We also see here where it says GIF, GIF, so it's an animated GIF, and you see it there flashing on the screen over here as well. You see the size of it and all that, and actually the link to it right there. So actually we can copy this link, so we can copy the link address. Let us open up a new tab. We will paste that in, and here it is flashing away. Now, what we can do from either here or from back over here on the original page, if you want this for some reason, let's see what happens when we pull it over and drop it onto our desktop. Okay, it came over here as a GIF. Now, where I'm outside of my frame, so I'm sorry about that. I should have been going full screen on this, but it says red arrows.gif right there. So let's come into our ClickFunnels account, and let's add in an element onto our page, and we're going to do an image element. And then what we're going to do is come in here. I'm going to grab that. And then we are going to upload this element right there. Now you can see it on the screen, red arrow.gif. And now here it is. We will click on it, and it should come into my page, and it should be flashing. Of course, it's way, way, way too big, so let's pare that thing down quite a bit, and there you have a small flashing GIF on your page. So if you wanted to go to some site where you were to find a GIF, you can just grab a hold of the GIF, drop it onto your desktop, drop it into a folder, do wherever, and just make sure it has the extension of GIF, and then you can just pull it into your page and use it just like any other image. And so that took care of that. And then, the other question she had was this right here, and this as well should be an image. I have not expected it. Yes, it is. So again, we look at this here, and you can see it is an image. It's a PNG format, and it has a transparent background. So again, if you're funnel hacking and you're, trying to clone somebody's site, now you shouldn't be, stealing other people's stuff, but if you're doing it like for an assignment in the Funnel Builder certification program or something like that, it's okay to grab it. Plus, this is Russell's site anyway. So again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to grab it. And again, you see here, if it's an image, you know it's an image. Now, this doesn't always happen with images, but like 90% of the time, you can grab an image and you can pull it anywhere and drop it, and you see it moving. So here, we're moving that image. Here, we had this GIF that we were moving. So we can just drop it in over here, and we do exactly the same thing as we did here. I'll just put it into the same spot. We just do that. We will upload that image right there. And we'll click on it, and it'll come in here, and now we need to make it a little bit bigger. Now, the second half of her question, if I recall, was how do you then make this what looks like a button? How do you make that then look like it is, or turn it into a button? So it's an image that we want to turn into a button, and that is very simple right here in ClickFunnels. You click on the gear, you come over here, and we're going to just say https:// again, google.com, and we are going to save this. We will reload our page over here. Click on it, and it should take us straight away to Google. And of course, on that setting as well, you could say whether you want it to open up in the same window or a new window, and you could do anything else in here that you would normally do with an image. And now her final question was about buttons, and if she saw a button on a page that has certain animation on it, how could she copy that or emulate it? And my answer to her was basically most of the time that's built into the software. So whether it's ClickFunnels or WordPress or Kajabi or anything else, they normally have certain animations for their buttons. So when you hover over them, they will do certain things. So let's just take a look at that first. So here we are on our button. We're going to come over to Advanced and Animation, and then we can, so on page load, no, let me see, that's the trigger. Let me see here, on page scroll, we don't want that. I thought there was a way, no, apparently in here there is not a way that when you hover over it that is going to actually do something. So we can have it fade in on page load, but there is nothing for a hover effect. So I'm going to have to put in a feature request for that, because that'd be nice if we had a hover effect on the buttons. So let's do this. We'll come in here and let's just take a look at the button, and it should have done an animation. I said fade in on page load, and okay, let's loop it so it just keeps doing it, and let's see what happens. We preview the animation. And so there you go. That's how it should look on the page. Obviously, you probably wouldn't do this on a live page, but I'm just doing it for the effect right here. And let's see, there we go. Now, if you see a button like this, or if you hover over it, it bounces up and down or something like that, we can come in here and we can inspect it, and let's see what we see. So here we have, now I'm not quite sure, I should have looked at this ahead of time, because here's the entirety of the element. Here you got the outer part of the element, here you have the anchor text, and then inside of here it gives you things like what the text would be, what the icons would be inside of it, and all of that. So let's come up here to the very top, and we can see down here the animation code. So it's got an animation, and it's X12. So this is actually a variable inside of ClickFunnels that has already been set up. It's 1.2 seconds. It's moving infinitely, meaning it's going to keep going. And all the other information here, delay for 600 milliseconds, fill mode, both. So all the information you want here on how this animation was built is right here in this information. Other things you may see on your page that are animated and moving might also be using keyframes as well, where you can set up a time period and then set up the percentage of the time period that the object is doing certain things. You could have it spinning left for half a second and then right for half a second, and then whatever else you want. So you can set that up in time frames like this. This is a simpler version of that same thing. So with that, I think I answered all of Amelia's questions. So if you got any questions yourself, just let me know.